Imagine if a large group of people suddenly arrived in a different country, but they didn't speak the same language, and they were almost totally different from the locals. Mexico City residents are angered by an influx of Americans speaking English. They're gentrifying the area. Here's a report from the New York Post. An influx of Californians and other Americans has made its way to Mexico City, angering some locals who say they are gentrifying the area, according to a report. Now, this originates in Los Angeles Times, and they put it out on Wednesday. They outlined how some Mexican locals are fed up with the growing number of Americans, many from California, moving to and visiting the country, which has contributed to a rise in rent and a shift from Spanish to English in some places. New to the city? Working remotely? Flyers popping up around Mexico City reportedly said, "You're a effing plague and the locals effing hate you. Leave!" The article outlines how Americans have brought a scent of new wave imperialism as taquerias and corner stores have slowly transformed into coffee shops and Pilates studios. English is also reportedly becoming more prevalent as Americans are moving to and visiting Mexico City to take advantage of lower rent and the ability to stay in Mexico for 6 months without a visa. We're the only brown people. Fernando Bustos Gorrozopi, a 38-year-old writer and university professor, told the Los Angeles Times, "We're the only people speaking Spanish, except the waiters." That's a damn shame. Damn shame. Mexico had a rich culture of proud Mexican people, but a bunch of foreigners arrive and change the way the country is. They don't follow their values, they have different customs, they even speak a different language. Oh no, what a shame. They must be racist. Don't they know that diversity is a strength? It's a real shame that they had a chance to stop it, but they just ignored the problem until it became too bad to fix. Sounds familiar? Anything sound even a little bit similar to what this country's going through? On a side note, can you imagine how much the Mexicans would complain if they actually had to support these Americans financially, or if most of them entered or remained in Mexico illegally, or perhaps if they committed a disproportionately high percentage of crime? So Bustos later posted a video on TikTok saying that the influx of Americans stinks of modern colonialism, and nearly 2,000 people responded in agreement. Mexico is classist and racist, Busto added. People with white skin are giving preference. Now, if a local wants to go to a restaurant or a club, they don't have to compete. They don't just have to compete with rich, white Mexicans, but with foreigners too. This article also pointed to a social media post online where a young American said, "Do yourself a favor and remote work in Mexico City. It's truly magical." The tweet received many negative responses. I'm guessing from locals. They don't want their city to change. While the Los Angeles Times report insisted that a vast majority of Mexico City locals are unwaveringly kind to visitors, there remains a friction beneath the surface of what gentrification means to the area. There is a distinction between people who want to learn about the place they are in and those who just like it because it's cheap, said 31-year-old Hugo Vandermeer, a man who grew up in Florida and Namibia, who has been working remotely in Mexico City. I've met a number of people who don't really care that they're in Mexico. They just care that it's cheap. The State Department reports there are 1.6 million Americans living in Mexico, many of them coming during the coronavirus pandemic when Mexico eased restrictions sooner than many places in the United States. But it remains unknown how many of those Americans are in Mexico City. Los Angeles Times says that in the first 4 months of this year, 1.2 million foreign visitors arrived in Mexico City's airport. We're just seeing Americans flooding in, said Alexandra Demus, who runs the relocation company Welcome Home Mexico. It's people who maybe have their own businesses, or maybe they're thinking of starting some consulting or freelance work. They don't even know how long they're going to stay. They're completely picking up their entire lives and just moving down here. She gets 50 calls a week from people thinking about moving to Mexico City. Listen, that's just too bad. Unfortunately for Mexico, most of the new migrants are coming from California. And just like cockroaches, they're spreading their toxic ideology and culture. It's the same toxic ideology and culture that turned Cali into a feces-covered homeless camp, drug user, welfare-dependent, unruly mob of woke activists. Mexico had a chance to stop this, but you have to go way back into history. They allowed millions of migrants to come from Nicaragua and Colombia and Guatemala to travel freely or sometimes assisted through Mexico to get into the U.S. U.S. had a rich culture of proud American people, but a bunch of foreigners arrived and changed the way the country is. They don't follow their values, they have different customs, and they don't even speak the same language. Weird, right? The Los Angeles Times reported a similar situation in Portugal earlier this year in a story titled, "Welcome to Portugal, the new expat haven. Californians, please go home." In the article, the outlet reported that the number of Americans living in Portugal has risen by 45% in the past year, and many residents have been frustrated by housing costs associated with that. So, California not only ruined a large chunk of this country, even Portugal knows the warning signs and has politely asked him to go home. I have a feeling that Portugal might take the word politely off the table pretty soon if things get worse. Now, I doubt I have a large audience from California, but if you are in California and listening to this, and if you decide that it's time to leave Cali, please take a look at why you are leaving and where you're moving to. If that new place is better than what you have now, take a moment to ask, why is it better? Then leave your shitty policies behind and enjoy the reason why the new place is better.